This is spoiler.
Hey everybody, and welcome to part 2 of our Mandalorian series. I'm your host, Pappy, and tonight we're covering chapters 3 and chapters 4. We're going to jump right into it because we've got a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline and a busy night behind the scenes. But let's start off with kind of the guys introducing themselves with a couple questions. Korey, our newest full-time member of Spoilers, Kylo Ren Memes, welcome to your first full-time episode.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
On a Star Wars episode. Let's go.
Oh, wow. Perfect. Yeah, you can call me Korey the intern for now.
Oh, God.
Oh, boy.
It's an endless summer for you, Korey, but let's jump right in. These first 2 chapters, Korey, I feel like everything is signaling this is kind of a return to old school TV. Like, it kind of reminds me of House or X-Files or something, where there is a serialized plot going on, but it's really kind of an adventure of the week. Have you picked up on that so far with Mandalorian, and how do you feel about it?
I've never watched those shows specifically. I mean, to me it feels like some kind of old-timey Western that maybe I've never seen. But, you know, there's a lot of callbacks to the original series. I mean, I'd probably agree with you if I knew a bit more about that topic.
Yeah, it's just kind of, I don't know, like, it's not Game of Thrones, Josh, you know what I mean? Where there's not kind of a overall story, kind of like every time. So, for example, for this episode 3, it starts with the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda coming to a planet, and it ends with the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda leaving a planet.
I picked that up from the very beginning. Almost each episode is almost like a bottle on that planet, and I really like that part about it. But the other thing I'll add to that too, Pap, is that I told you guys this in the thread, and even people at work and stuff, is that episode 3 is what I thought was finale material, and the clip at which this show is moving the plot along is kind of astounding. And yeah, I thought that his decision to collect on the bounty of Baby Yoda or not, and that fallout of the choice was going to be like the very last thing we see here, and to have that just come right at me was a welcome surprise, I think.
You thought we were going to abandon Baby Yoda for like 4 episodes?
Oh, no.
Dude, come on. That's the moneymaker.
Okay, so I heard from like 3 people before I saw episode 4, like these cryptic statements that I interpreted in my brain as Baby Yoda is dying in episode 4. Because I was like, Disney made these months ago, years ago, wrote these a long time ago, and so like maybe they didn't know to like Baby Yoda was going to be the most popular thing on the internet in the last 10 years when they were doing that. You know what I mean? Like, maybe they didn't know what they had, and they killed him off in episode 4 or 5. Like, who's to say?
Well, so what did you think he was going to be doing for that time?
Well,
what did you think Mando was going to be doing?
The show's not called The Child.
It should be.
Yeah.
The baby.
I mean, they're going to kill him off at the end, right? They got to wait.
They're going to shoot him. He's going to explode into 50 more Baby Yodas, each one collectible in a different color that you can order online. But this, I do want to touch a little bit on Chapter 3, The Sin. We talked about Mando abandons Baby Yoda, then he goes and rescues Baby Yoda, and now they're kind of got all of the bounty hunters in the galaxy after him. But we talked about on the last episode, Mikey, the use of montage. And I thought one of the most significant kind of developments in this episode was insight into Mandalorian lore, and he upgrades his armor. I guess, first of all, Mikey, how pumped were you as Mando got his new upgraded armor suit?
No.
This is what I thought was going to be more of an endgame thing, like Josh was thinking. I thought that was going to be kind of like the final episode, as he finally gets all of his armor upgraded and stuff. But that was episode 3. I thought it was awesome, though.
Exactly, Mikey. And they referenced the Sigget that you talked about in our last episode.
Sigget.
Yeah, she, the armor lady, she offers him the Sigget of getting the yak thing or whatever. I forgot the name of it.
Mudhorn.
The animal. But he's like, I can't
Water
do it
horse.
because it wasn't a noble kill because the baby protected me. He didn't say that, but it's kind of hilarious that he's like now top dog and he still doesn't feel like he's worthy of it. So it's He's pretty noble. He's a pretty noble guy, so you can kind of tell that he's going to go back and save this baby.
And Korey, I just want to come back to you real quick, because I think he might be the best keeper of Star Wars lore. Was there anything about the Mandalorians that you, I guess, that learned in this episode or ran contrary to what you knew? I'm going in this totally fresh. I'm a very green on Star Wars.
I mean, I'm definitely a big Star Wars fan, but I don't do a whole lot of reading into the expanded universe. I think I'm kind of like you. I'm going off what they told us, and I mean, what they told us is that there's a couple key points. The Mandalorians hate the Empire, which has just fallen a few years back. And there was something else that slipped my mind.
They had their, like, medal or something, right?
Yeah, that's right, the Beskar. That is one of the few things I did look into, actually. So that came from the original Mandalore planet. It was like one of the core resources of the planet, apparently. So that's why they say, like, Beskar belongs in the hands of Mandalorians at some point.
And something that we talked about in the previous episode was why Mando would have his connection with this baby. And it kind of touches on that he was a foundling and that he was kind of taken in by the Mandalorians. And in that montage that we talked about, we see some flashbacks from his past. But Stevie, this is to bring you in here. Sorry for that delay, but
no problem.
This is a very Stevie question. Mando drops off Baby Yoda with Werner Herzog and some doctor guy. What do you think they want with Baby Yoda? Do you have any Stevie theories for us?
Great Stevie question.
Man, it's so strange to me because, like, that doctor's, like, pleading with Mando, like, I'm the only reason he's still alive. You know, are they trying to, like... The one thing I could think of is they're trying to draw from its power. Or learn, like, I guess you say learn how powerful this being truly is. Because
how can we monetize this guy?
Exactly.
Oh, no. Oh, man.
That's like I think
That's
of
Bob
as
Iger.
maybe try to draw, like, on its power or see, I guess you could say, I mean, learn more about it. Because there has to be something about this species that we don't know about.
They want to take his midichlorians and turn them into Funko Pops?
Exactly.
I mean, there is a part, it's like a throwaway line, Werner Herzog briefly says, and I almost missed it, he says, extract the necessary material. He says that to the doctor guy after they get the child.
That's gross.
Maybe they are trying to get midichlorians, who knows?
It could be super complex about the Force on one hand, or it could be, like, really rudimentary, like taking the ivory out of a rhino for, like, exotic material. It's kind of hard to tell. That's kind of what's cool about it.
And it feels like the way the show's going to dole out this information is kind of, like I touched on the top, where it's going to be a little bit of adventure of the week, learning a little bit more about either Mandalorian culture or Baby Yoda culture. But there's kind of a final battle here as Mando fights his way out. Stevie, did anything stand out to you in this final battle with Apollo Creed? And everything.
Or also known as Carl Weathers on Arrested Development.
Exactly. something soup.
Stew.
I really, really enjoyed how he came back for Baby Yoda and kind of like going pretty much willing to die at that point to protect Baby Yoda. And I also loved how all the Mandalorians came, I guess you could say, came out of nowhere really at the very end to save him. I just thought it was a really well done action scene. And yeah, I enjoyed watching it. Like you guys said earlier, the great thing about the Mandalorian is the Mandalorian's a badass. He's kind of like Superman. Like we all know he's a powerful being. He's super badass. He's not going to lose. So let's put the stakes in other characters throughout each episode. And I feel like they put all the stakes in the world on Baby Yoda at this point. It was great fun.
To me, it felt kind of like World War II. I don't know if this happens in like Saving Private Ryan, where like a sniper is like holed up, and he's like completely surrounded, and he's just shooting his way out. That's what it felt like to me. It kind of felt like a World War II a little bit. And the part with the droid where he's like drive, and the droid screams that he doesn't want to, and then he's like held hostage, so he drives. It's kind of hilarious.
I forget, Josh, did you say something in the thread? Did you not like the I gotta get one of those line with all the Mandos? Or did you like that? I forget if you had a stance on that. Maybe I'm making that up.
No, I don't think that was me that commented on that. But I think seeing all of them show up like that, again, felt like something that would happen in a season finale. And I'm not saying that in a complaining way. It's just, how quick this show's moving along.
Yeah, and just to keep this podcast moving along, just a couple other quick notes on that final battle. I really like the planting and payoff in this episode. Like, he gets these whistling birds, and they're like, the video game tutorial says only use these sparingly, and then he uses them to like great success at the end. And then what's his name? Apollo Creed puts the medal in his front pocket, and Mando shoots him right in the front pocket, so that way he doesn't die. I thought that was a nice little touch.
That does happen in the Ballad of Josie Wales, I believe, or some Western like that, like the exact same
Well,
thing.
they clearly got it from Problem Child. Though.
Exactly.
Yes.
That episode was directed by Deborah Chow, who will be directing the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. But this Chapter 4, Sanctuary, was directed by Spoiler's favorite, Bryce Dallas Howard. Korey, this is a classic story, from Bug's Life to Three Amigos to Magnificent Seven to Seven Samurai. Can you kind of give us a little overview of what this adventure of the week is?
Yeah, so Mandalorian, he's on the run, little baby Yoda. They decide to go hide out on this like remote, I assume, outer rim planet. And I mean, one thing kind of leads to another while there, and eventually he meets another mercenary, and they're defending some locals that are being attacked by raiders. And you were mentioning that this has been done in like some other shows and movies. To me, it reminded me of an episode of Firefly, Heart of Gold. You guys ever watch that?
Yeah.
Basically the same thing. But yeah, so on this planet, they got to defend these local villagers against some raiders that are... I looked it up. They're Clatuinians? Dogface guys, I don't know.
Well, Josh, the reason that we're going to kind of keep this podcast really bite-sized is because we're recording 2 Lord of the Rings podcasts tonight. But having just rewatched part of The Fellowship, did you get some Uruk-hai vibes off those people?
That's a really interesting point. I mean, these guys coming out of the woods are definitely orcish. They're kind of like not quite human, like half human, half pig, half ape.
That sounds about right with the Uruk-hai.
And they like to raid, and unlike the orcs, though, these guys in the show know how to brew their own neon LSD beer. Looks really interesting. Apparently, you can drink it for sport and recreation, or you can melt your face in it and just die.
Well, we talked about kind of the production value too, and Mikey, that last kind of final battle with the ATST and the explosions and stuff. Did anything kind of stand out to you with when the village is learning to defend itself?
Yeah, I thought this ATST is probably the best it's ever looked in the franchise. When it's chasing Gina Carano and Mando through the forest, it looks awesome. I kind of wish there was a little bit more of that, but then it just kind of stops and starts tearing them apart from like across the field. So that's kind of interesting. The whole plan is to like kind of push it into this big ditch and kind of drown it. So the plan kind of goes sideways, and they got to take it into their own hands after that.
This ATST seemed kind of extra sentient, like it almost dunks its foot in the water, and it's like, nah, and like pulls it back.
Testing the temperature.
But yeah, I thought that the red eyes on the ATST were like a really cool detail. Like I said, it's kind of like an old story, but it's a good story of kind of the village enabling itself, almost 36 Chamber of Shaolin-esque. But
I like how they treated the vehicle as like they only had one of them, and it was like a scary creature. It was like a mythologized little piece of the old empire. It's pretty well done.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you need to defeat those, really? Ewoks.
That's what I don't understand, why now that it's become like kind of this like, I don't know, it's almost like from the fallout of the Soviet Union when groups get their hands on all those weapons. Like this somehow rebel group is like souped it up, but it seems to be more powerful now than it was in Jedi. Korey, did you get that vibe at all, or is that just me?
I think it felt more daunting because it was going up against a bunch of villagers and people that didn't have like the heavy ammunition that the Rebel Alliance had in Return of the Jedi. It also reminded me of, I think it's like one of the first bosses in Shadows of the Empire on N64. And it's pretty tough in that game too if you're just like one person up against it.
Yeah, I was thinking of Jurassic Park when it was chasing him through the forest. I was like, that looks pretty similar.
Interesting.
All right, and last but not least, Stevie, I think we talked about this off air, but this feels like the cutest Baby Yoda episode. Like, they're just going all out.
The memes!
Were there any memes that stood out to you?
Okay, so I've been sending you, I think you and Josh, that coffee meme regularly, where he's just like standing there watching them fight, and he's holding that soup.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like just staring at them. That meme is fantastic. And also, I've been seeing this video everywhere of just, I think you sent it to me first, Pap, where he flips the switch, and instead of, whatever goes on in the show, it turns into whatever song you want to. And the Get Low by Lil Jon and the East Side Boys video is by far and away my favorite.
It feels like Disney definitely knew what they were doing when they included those
Did they
scenes.
know Baby Yoda was going to take off like this?
Dude, when he presses the button without looking at it, that is so calculated. They knew exactly what they're doing. That's physical comedy right there. That's hilarious.
Yeah, and I think, for an investment like they put into this show and to build their own streaming service, I think that the capital that they get from awareness of Baby Yoda memes being like probably the hottest meme on the internet is like invaluable to them. They can't even put a price on that. But those are all the notes I had. Did you guys have anything else from chapters 3 or 4 that you wanted to talk about? Or are you ready for yes or no's?
I had a quick note in chapter 3. I know I keep saying a lot of things remind me of other things, but I got another one. In chapter 3, after the Mandalorian rescues Baby Yoda, he starts getting followed by the other bounty hunters, and I really like the build-up right there, but definitely reminded me of John Wick. And he is kind of the John Wick of that group, ain't he?
Yeah.
Ain't he?
That's a good point, Korey. That does remind me of John Wick. Like, when you're talking about, like, in the alleyways and they're kind of following him side by side?
Yeah, like when the bounty is up on John Wick and everyone starts kind of, following him down. I think it's chapter 3, right?
That's chapter 3, and that starts in chapter 2 a little bit, too, where it's like it can come from any point. Yeah, that's a good point.
In all seriousness, though, with Korey and your deep, deep lore of Star Wars, one of the questions, anytime I bring this up, and I guess I open this up to the whole group, but anytime I'm talking about this show with any group of people, the question of where does this lie within the Star Wars universe time-wise comes up. Do you have any definitive answers for that?
I believe it's a few years after Return of the Jedi.
A few years after.
And actually, one of the many places we host this podcast, SoundCloud, we have a Star Wars playlist on there. And I've tried to keep the episodes in chronological order in the universe. I've been sticking these in between Attack of the Clones and...
It's canon!
Attack of the Clones and The Force Awakens. But let's go ahead and jump into it. Like I said, we're keeping this short because we got so much good content coming down the line. I'll go ahead and go first and give this a yes. I talked about off the top, I'm excited by this prospect of a show that's not really, like Watchmen or Game of Thrones, or that's trying to tell this giant story that's advancing episode by episode. We're getting just enough details in each one, but the adventure of the week aspect is really exciting to me. I feel like we haven't had a great show that's trying to do that in a long time, and I really appreciate the references to Kurosawa, and film Twitter kind of lost its mind this past week. Is it based on samurai or is it based on Western? And the real answer is, it's pulling from both, but I really like what it's doing. I'm excited to see where it goes from here. Newest member, Korey. Give your yes or no for chapter 3 and 4. Or if they're different, you could split them up.
Oh, it's going to be a yes for both. I mean, I feel like we're going to probably all go this way, but I mean, it's just a really good show. It's really intriguing. It's a new take on Star Wars media as far as it not being related directly to the Skywalkers, and it's just a lot of fun. I enjoy it a lot.
Stevie, how about you?
Yeah. When I first started watching the show after episode 1, I really thought this, kind of like other shows we've done in the past, either it would be Thrones or Watchmen, more so of just kind of this overarching, giant story, and I'm really a big fan of kind of like this tune in next week for the new adventures of. I think that's really exciting. It keeps it fresh, And you can really just tune into any episode and you're there. I mean, you don't have to worry about, did I miss this storyline? What does this mean? Did I miss this character? It's just, you're in the now. So hard yeses for both episodes.
Decent. And Mikey, you hosted last week on chapters 1 and 2. What say you for chapters 3 and 4?
It's a definite yes. I really like what Stevie said, that the stakes are like lower, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean anything. Every episode has some importance. It's just nice that it's not nearly as serious as what The Watchmen is doing or all of these other crazy high budget shows. It's just a little more laid back. Baby Yoda is hilarious. The music is still amazing to listen to. I like everything about the show. It's really, really good.
For the record, I'm a big fan of Baby Yoda, of Watchmen and Baby Yoda, of course. But last but not least, our biggest fan of The Last Jedi. Josh, what do you give The Mandalorian?
Much like they say about the weather in Indiana, I think watch any given episode of this. If you don't like it, just give it an episode. It's going to be quite different. Like, we're in a huge shootout in one episode, and the next episode we're like fishing for shrimp, blue shrimp. So I kind of like that about the show. Like Stevie said, it keeps it fresh. It's a huge yes for me. However, I'll deliver a stern warning. If they continue to dangle Baby Yoda by these tiny little heartstrings, I'm gonna snap. It was hard for me to enjoy the 4th episode because I thought he was gonna die the whole time. And last but not least, Mando was a foundling, but I feel like that doesn't work within the Star Wars universe because I'm pretty sure Anakin killed all the foundlings.
In like 5 minutes.
He killed the younglings.
I know. I love that. Foundlings versus younglings. I love that call.
We're coming out with these episodes a little bit late, but maybe you can listen to it as a refresher before you check out episodes 5 and 6. Thanks for tuning into us, and yeah, take it away, Spoilerman.
That was spoiler.
Josh Hensley from the Rutabaga wrote our theme song.